We have already created Zookeeper, Kafka, and the producer and the consumer. So what's the next step? In the next step, we are going to create producer and consumer in Java. For that, let's go to the IntelliJ IDEA and let's create a new project. So we are creating a new project. So for the build tool, we are going to choose a Maven and we can name whatever we want. And also here, we need to choose the archetype. And that's it. After that, we can start our project. I've already started that, so let's go to my project. It's a full course Apache Kafka in the project. So let's take a look at the our files, right? The first one that we have here in our directory, we have only 3 files: pom.xml, producer, and the consumer, right? So let's first take a look at our build file. In our build file, we have only one dependency, which is the client, because we are going to create 2 clients, simple producer and the simple consumer. Okay, the next one is that the simple producer, right? So what we have in our simple producer? In our simple producer, the first thing is what we do here. We are creating our first producer, and for that, the first step is we need to configure our producer. So for that, we are creating a properties, and we are setting the 3 important properties for us to start a producer. The first one is that we need to define the broker, Kafka broker, right, or Kafka server. So it's a local host, and by default, Kafka is using 1992 port. We are defining that. The next one is we need to define key and value, serializer and deserializer for key and value. When we are producing message to Kafka, we need to define the serializer, and when we are consuming, we need to define the serializer. Why we are using key and value, we are going to discuss that a bit later, but in a nutshell, key and value is basically the message that we are sending, and key is the value that is hashed by Kafka in order to define to which partition to send that message. So we are using, in this case, string, key and value. And the next one is that after defining our configurations, we are creating a producer. We are creating Kafka producer, and we are passing our properties that we have just created as a parameter. The next one is we are creating a record that we are going to send, right? So we are going to send to the same topic that we have created earlier. So we are going to send hello from Java, right? Let's say hello from Java to our topic. And the next one is we are producing we are sending our record, right? So in our producer, so we are sending our record to this topic, to my first topic. And that's it. After that, we are closing our producer in order to not to waste the resources. So that's our producer, and the next one is consumer. Let's go to our consumer. Again, in the consumer, the first step is we need to configure our consumer, and in our consumer, the first 3 configurations are the same. So we are defining a Kafka server, we are defining here deserializer, so when we are producing, we are serializing, and when we are consuming, we are deserializing. For key and value, it's again string deserializer. And the next one is we need to create a group ID. Group ID is when we are creating a consumer, it is part of the group ID. Group ID is used when we are consuming from a topic, and it has many partitions. So we are using a group ID in order to better manage that consumption from the topic. And the next one is we need to also set the offset. What's the offset is? Offset is the point from where in that topic, right? Let's say there are like a 500 or 1000 messages from where that consumer will start to consume those messages. So in our case, we set the earlier, so which means that it's going to start to send from the earliest, from the very beginning of that, from the very beginning of that topic, it start to consume. That's it. After that, we are creating our consumer, and we are passing these properties that we have just created. And the next one is that we are defining from which topic we are going to subscribe. Again, we are subscribing from my first topic, and after that, we are pulling our data from the Kafka. So for that, what we do, we are creating a consumer record, and we are pulling from Kafka every 1 second, right? Every second we are pulling from Kafka. And the next one is after we pulled, let's say there are like 10 messages, right, that we pulled from Kafka. So we go over each message and we are just printing receive the message with that value, with whatever the message we have received. Let's start first our consumer. So let's start our consumer. So we have started our consumer, and now let's go and produce one message, publish one message to our Kafka. Hello from Kafka. We are publishing that message to our Kafka. The message is published to Kafka here, right? And here that message is, so let's go to our consumer. That message is, yes, you see here, that message is received from Kafka, right? We, our consumer, consume that message. Let's send another message. Let's say that hello from Kafka and 35 or 25. Let's again send that message. Okay, that message is published to Kafka, and that message again here in our consumer, that message is consumed by our consumer. So we have two consumers here, right? The one that is we created in Kafka and the one that we have created earlier. Here, as you can see, that consumer is also received these two messages because we are publishing to the same topic. Now we have two subscribers. One is a Kafka subscriber and another one is the subscriber that we created from the command line, and they both received the same two messages.